Hey, welcome back for session 2 of this special 5-part series called Living Beyond Survival Mode. So in the last session, we explored a simple but really powerful point for all of us. And that is that the voice in your head isn't just talking in there, it's actually quietly shaping the quality of your life in really powerful ways. And we saw how the mind can end up becoming your own worst enemy. So today I want to walk you through why that happens, why your mind becomes your own worst enemy. And I want to unpack for you what I call the survival mode trap, because once we see this trap really clearly, we can quite easily start to understand how to shift beyond it. So what is the trap? So to understand the survival mode trap, you need to understand 2 basic things. So let's walk through them in this episode. The first thing you need to understand is that the human mind, your mind, my mind, all of our minds, runs on what we could call a survival-based operating system. The reason why the mind operates the way it does has to do with evolution. So we human beings, we've been evolving for something around 200,000 years, and for most of that time, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers, or what we sometimes call cavemen and women. And their lives were very different to our modern lives. Their lives were incredibly difficult. They were very dangerous, and it was actually pretty tough to survive. So in order to survive, their minds had to be constantly on the lookout for potential threats, for danger, for any problems. If they weren't constantly hypervigilant and on the lookout for danger, they just didn't survive long. So the default setting of the human mind is safety above everything. Better to be stressed and anxious but alive than happy and relaxed and die, right? So the mind is not designed to make you happy. Its wiring is safety first. Now, we in the modern world have inherited this kind of mind from our ancestors. And even though we live in a really different world today, much safer, much more comfortable, our mind hasn't really caught up with the way things have changed. Because if you look at that 200,000 years of evolution, the way we live now is only a tiny sliver of that time. So the mind hasn't really caught up. So our modern minds still fixate on things that could go wrong. They worry, they ruminate, they really overly focus on the negative, right? So back in the caveman days, the mind might have said, hey, watch out, that shadow over there could be a tiger, or be careful, that might be a rival clan coming over there, so you better sharpen your weapons. So our minds still operate like that. It still worries and fixates on problems and what could go wrong. But now we worry about different things. We might worry about our work, our finances, our relationship, our health, and it creates stress, anxiety, tension, restless nights. So also in the caveman days, humans only survived in tribes. Human beings did not survive very long alone. So our survival depended on fitting in with the group and having the approval of other people in the tribe. So the mind is wired to constantly compare you to everybody else in the tribe and assess, am I fitting in? Am I contributing enough? Am I following the rules? Am I doing anything that might get me rejected? Am I special enough? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Right? Does this sound familiar? Now, even though we don't live in tribes anymore, which, by the way, already amplifies the fear circuitry in the human mind, the survival circuitry, but our minds are still doing the same thing even though we're not in tribes. And now we face a really significant challenge on top of that because of the media and the internet. Now our human minds are comparing ourselves not just to a tribe of a few people, but to a huge amount of people with almost impossible standards. So when we scroll through all these images of people who are airbrushed and polished and the pictures taken at the perfect moment. They look sexier, wealthier, more attractive, more everything than us. That's going to ramp up the fear circuitry in the mind, and we're going to start to feel more and more that we're not good enough, anticipate rejection, and rejection feels life-threatening to human beings. So that's part of why the underlying cause there of the rise of so much depression and anxiety in the world. Now, the human mind also has a negativity bias. Walk out of your cave in the caveman days and see a shadow here and a rainbow over there. You better take your attention to that shadow first. Otherwise, you may never see a rainbow again, right? So if you notice that your mind focuses on the negative about you, about other people, about what's wrong with the world, this is why, okay? Now, another challenge with the way our minds evolved back then was that resources were very, very scarce back in those days. So the mind would constantly fixate on getting more resources, improving life circumstances. The mind would say you need more food, more water, better shelter, more clothing, better weapons. Okay, so no matter what a caveman would ever get, the mind would say you need more, 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 more. Now, unfortunately, this tendency of the mind manifests as a constant sense of dissatisfaction and craving. No matter what we ever do, get, have, or achieve, it doesn't feel like enough. And because of this, we might consume more than we need to, develop addictions, to certain substances or habits, and it still never feels like enough. And if all of that wasn't challenging enough, all of our ancient survival circuitry in the human mind is now being constantly amplified by the demanding, overstimulating, and disconnecting nature of modern life. So when your mind is doing all this stuff, you can often recognize it through the patterns it creates: chronic stress, negative thinking loops and ongoing bad moods, reactivity in relationships, never feeling like you're good enough, difficulty resting, feeling a background sense of just unease in life and unfulfillment, dissatisfaction. Now, deep down, no one wants to live in survival mode. What we really want is peace, but we often find ourselves stressed, anxious, and reactive. What we really want is love, belonging, and connection, but we find ourselves stuck in approval seeking and trying to fit in, or getting stuck in conflicts. What we really want is fulfillment, right? That sense of living a life that is meaningful and rich and full. But we become trapped in endless striving and cycles of dissatisfaction and more striving. Deep down, we are all longing for greater meaning in life, but we spend huge parts of our lives distracted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from ourselves. The survival operating system was great for our ancestors. It's what got us here as human beings. But it's also the source of so much of our suffering, stress, and unhappiness in life. But the survival mode trap is not simply that the mind has this survival operating system. The trap is when the survival operating system becomes the primary organizing force in our inner life. In other words, the mind with its survival operating system is in the driver's seat of our life. That means our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes become governed by these primal fear-based patterns. Importantly, this mode of being also cuts us off from our deeper nature as human beings. And when we become cut off from our deeper nature as human beings, we become cut off from the higher potentials and the deeper strengths in the human spirit. So we can no longer easily access states of just peace, presence, wholeness, and wisdom. So this is the survival mode trap. The mind is trying to protect us. It's innocent in that way. It simply doesn't know any better to play out this survival operating system. It's a little bit, I always say, like an out-of-date piece of software, right? Running in the mind. It hasn't caught up with the way life is in the modern world. So when the survival mode is running the show, it's going to create the very suffering that we're often trying to escape, both in our lives and also in the collective too. So the shift that we need is not about fighting the mind or destroying the ego or trying to get rid of all of our negative thoughts. It's actually about learning how to relate to the mind in a completely new way. It's the ability to step out of the survival mode trap and into a new operating system, if you will, because living in survival mode is not the only inner operating system available to us. Beneath the noise of the conditioned mind, there is a deeper awareness. There is a deeper intelligence in you. And because this awareness is deeper than the thinking mind and that operating system that comes with it, that means that this awareness can step outside of fear-based conditioning rather than being pushed around and governed by it. And that deeper part of you can become the leader of your inner system. And when that happens, a virtuous upward spiral starts to take place, because with awareness in the lead, those primal patterns can start to soften and relax a little bit. When we become more connected to this deeper awareness, what also happens is certain inner qualities reliably begin to emerge, like peace, like feelings of wholeness, clarity of purpose. And we have more space to make conscious choices, right? So instead of reacting automatically from fear-based conditioning, we begin responding to life from a deeper wisdom, from a clearer sense of what truly matters and who we really are deep down. Learning how to live from that deeper awareness is what I call the wisdom operating system. And that's what we're going to begin to explore in the next episode. I hope today's been really helpful and insightful for you. I look forward to joining you for the next episode.